They said it the way people in small towns always say dangerous things, softly, urgently, like a secret passed down through generations. Don't, someone might see. In Briar Hollow, those words carried more weight than law, heavier than truth, heavier even than pain. The town sat between wheat fields and open sky, a place where everyone knew your truck before they knew your name, and where silence was considered a virtue. Eli Mercer had grown up inside that silence. His ranch lay just beyond the town's edge, land his family had worked for 3 generations, soil hardened by sun and history. Eli was known as steady, quiet, reliable, the kind of man people trusted with fences, cattle and storms, but not with change. So when Mara Hayes arrived in Briar Hollow, no one expected their worlds to collide the way they did. She came with a limp she tried to hide, and eyes that had learned to measure. Exits before comfort. She didn't ask for help at first. People like her never do. But that morning, under a sky too wide to ignore, her strength finally gave way. The pain in her leg, bruised badly from something she refused to name, had grown unbearable. Eli noticed because he always noticed what others trained themselves to overlook. He didn't hesitate, didn't ask permission from gossip or fear. He guided her into the open field, where the light was honest, and knelt to examine the injury with the careful hands of someone who had mended animals and people alike. That was when she whispered it, her voice tight with instinctive fear. Don't, someone might see, and that was when Eli made the choice that would fracture the town's unspoken code. He stayed right where he was. He didn't rush her inside, didn't hide her pain behind walls or nightfall. He said calmly, "Let them." The windmill creaked nearby. The horse shifted its weight, and a pickup slowed on the road. A phone came out. By lunchtime, the story had already changed shape. By dinner, it had grown claws. People didn't talk about Mara's injury or why she'd been hurt. They talked about impropriety, about appearances, about what decent folks should keep private. They talked because talking was easier than asking hard questions. Eli heard the murmurs at the feed store, felt the stares at the cafe, sensed the town leaning away from him like he'd stepped across an invisible line. The sheriff came by under the guise of concern. The pastor followed with a smile too tight to be kind. Each visit carried the same message wrapped in politeness. "You embarrassed us." Eli answered with the same steady truth. Someone needed help. The more he refused to apologize, the louder Briar Hollow grew. What the town didn't realize, what it feared, was that Eli's refusal to hide had already cracked something open. People began remembering moments they'd looked away, times they'd whispered "don't" instead of saying "are you okay?" Mara, watching all of this unfold, felt something unfamiliar stir, relief mixed with terror. She had lived too long believing survival meant invisibility. Now she was visible, and the town didn't know what to do with that. As outrage swelled, so did curiosity. And curiosity, once awakened, is dangerous to silence. If you're feeling the tension build and want to know where this story goes, now's the moment. Subscribe to the channel, because stories like this only get more powerful when the truth refuses to stay quiet. Briar Hollow didn't explode. It unraveled thread by thread as every whispered rule was dragged into the light. It began with arguments in places usually reserved for small talk. The post office, the school pickup line, the hardware aisle. Some said Eli had crossed a line. Others, more quietly at first, asked what line mattered more than compassion. Mara decided she wouldn't be the town's rumor anymore. When the library offered space for a community talk, she stood there under fluorescent lights and told her story without names, without drama, just facts and the cost of being unseen. People shifted in their chairs, some left. Others stayed, stunned by how familiar her words felt. The local paper tried to soften the impact, but social media did what it always does, it sharpened it. Strangers weighed in. Old secrets surfaced. Someone anonymously shared a story from 20 years ago, then another, and another. The town that prided itself on respectability began recognizing a pattern it could no longer deny. Help arrived from unexpected places. A retired nurse volunteered. A counselor offered free sessions. The sheriff reopened dusty files. None of it happened because Briar Hollow was suddenly brave. It happened because someone had been brave first. Eli didn't make speeches. He fixed fences, fed horses, and kept his gate open. When a crowd gathered at the ranch one evening, he spoke once, voice carrying across the field like the wind that never stopped moving there. He said hiding pain doesn't make a town strong, it makes it sick. He said daylight isn't the enemy. Silence is. No one interrupted him. The horse stood still. The windmill turned. And for the first time in a long while, Briar Hollow listened. The town didn't become perfect. Some people never forgave Eli for forcing them to look. But something fundamental shifted. Parents talked differently to their kids. Neighbors checked in instead of looking away. Mara chose to stay, not because the town had redeemed itself, but because it was trying. The phrase, "don't," someone might see lost its power, replaced by something quieter and stronger. "I see you." And that, more than outrage or gossip, is what truly changed everything. If this story made you think, stirred something in you, or reminded you why courage matters, don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel, share it, and stay with us for more stories that prove the truth is strongest when it's seen.